In today's video, we are going to talk about how to not quit after you get promoted to blue belt. My name's Coach Brandon. I've been training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for 6 years now. It took me 4 years of blood, sweat, and tears to finally get through this blue belt, and I want to teach you what all happens when you get promoted to blue belt, why so many people quit when they get promoted to blue belt, and how to make sure that you're not another statistic of someone who quits Jiu-Jitsu and vanishes from the mats completely after you get your blue belt. The truth is, most people quit training Jiu-Jitsu after they get promoted to blue belt for one of three reasons: responsibilities, injuries, or ego. And in order to stick to Jiu-Jitsu for the long haul, to get to purple belt, let alone black belt, you got to be able to manage all three of those at once in your lifestyle to make sure that you can stick to the mats long term. Now, getting a blue belt is a very, very respectable achievement. Just getting a white belt is a respectable achievement. It's very difficult to go from white to blue because you don't know what you're doing. You're getting beat up all the time. It's very difficult. But when you finally break through to get to that blue belt, it's one of the best feelings ever. But what happens a lot of times that people quit at blue belt is a lot of responsibilities start to pile up. I mean, for myself included, it took me 4 years to get through blue belt, which is quite a lot of time, but I was, managing a lot more responsibilities than I had at white belt. At blue belt, I got married, I got a house, I started a business, like the coaching business you're watching right now, because I'm a strength and conditioning coach for jiu-jitsu athletes. And, it took a lot of time to be able to juggle a bunch of work and family and home to be able to still manage time effectively to get back on the mats. And a lot of times people start, getting more increased demand for them at work or at home, and they just kind of fall off jiu-jitsu. They stop training. But you need to be able to manage your time effectively and make time for the things that are important to you. Otherwise, it's going to be 6 months to 12 months to a year or more. And then sooner before you know it, your gi's just hanging up in the closet and collecting dust, or it doesn't even fit anymore. Maybe you got too big from inactivity. But you got to make sure that if you don't plan and you don't prioritize and you don't take care of business on the side and take care of everything that you need to take care of, you won't have time for jiu-jitsu. So you have to manage your time very effectively with all of your responsibilities that happen throughout life in order to stick to your martial arts journey long term. Now, also, another thing that happens when you get to blue belt is you probably by now have gotten injured, right? Jiu-jitsu is not really like if you get injured, it's more like when you get injured. And eventually you'll wind up probably injuring something, and most people tweak something, they panic, and then they say it's not worth it. They quit altogether entirely. But you got to build up your body and reinforce your body to be able to handle the grind that you're going to experience on the mats. If you're not taking time to do any strength work with lifting weights, you're not doing any kind of body work with calisthenics, mobility, you're not doing any kind of conditioning, you're not resting, getting enough good sleep, getting good nutrients, macronutrients, micronutrients, you got to be able to juggle all of these things to be able to condition your body to be able to handle the strain and stress that it is to be able to get through to jiu-jitsu, through to blue belt and past beyond blue belt. You really got to be able to take care of your body effectively if you want it to be able to withstand all the beatings that you're going to take throughout white belt and blue belt. Because I'll tell you right now what happens after you get promoted to blue belt. Once you get promoted to blue belt, people aren't as nice to you anymore. Like, you have a target on your back. Usually when white belts are trying to go after upper belts, they're trying to make a statement. They're trying to prove themselves. And you, as a blue belt, you're like the first line of defense of what everyone wants to attack. The white belts want to just like rip you apart so they can prove themselves. The upper belts just want to play with you because they know that you're at a stage where you know a little bit but not as much as them, so you're a little bit harder, so they're going to put more difficult tests on you, and you got to be able to withstand that. You got to take care of your body to make sure that your joints, your ligaments, your tendons, your elbows, your wrists, your knees, it's not things that are sexy like you're doing a big bench press and building a big chest and big biceps. We're being really intricate with our bodies and making sure that we are taking care of everything all around the scope with our mobility, our conditioning, our rest, recovery. We have to just cover all the bases. Otherwise, we're going to get injured. We're going to quit. We're not going to be able to withstand this long term. And that's another very common reason why people quit. They just aren't building themselves up athletically and treating themselves like an athlete. You cannot just go from working 9 to 5, sitting a desk job all day, and then only do jiu-jitsu and expect to have a healthy body and survive off of energy drinks and not getting any sleep, not getting any protein, not tracking anything, it's gonna come for you. Father time is gonna come for all of us eventually. And if we are not doing preventative care and trying to reinforce our bodies with strength training and proper nutrition, proper rest, we're just going to get torn apart doing combat sports. It's very different than like bodybuilding, for example. Bodybuilding is you can control a lot more variables in order to reduce the risk of injury. In jiu-jitsu, there's so many variables and people are literally trying to just beat you up and rip your limbs off. So you got to take care of your body before anything bad happens. Don't just wait for a bad thing to happen and then you start getting checked out for a mobility routine, reinforcing, all that kind of thing. You need to take care of it before the injury occurs, all right? Injury is one of the main causes of people stopping jiu-jitsu forever. Maybe they don't know how to tap properly, early enough because of ego. And that's what we're going to talk about in the final aspect of why people quit jiu-jitsu is because of ego. Really what you learn in martial arts, it's a self-discovery journey. A lot of like your ego, like you experience like ego death. Like you get beat up, people just like wipe the floor with you. People you would think that you could take on end up beating you up. You really get humbled. Your ego gets taken away from you, but a lot of people can't handle that. And that's why a lot of people quit and they fall off from jiu-jitsu because, there's so many levels to the game. There's always going to be someone basically better than you and be able to whoop you, put you in your place, teach you something new, things like that. And you got to be able to be receptive to that feedback at all times because that is what makes you better. The losses are what make you better. Getting tapped out, getting beat up, making sure that every time you roll, you're asking questions, asking for feedback, even if you can review tape on your tournaments, on your fights, be able to analyze things, learning off the mats. Like there's so many things that you need to do for your ego to be humble, be a student, always be a learner. Don't always think that you know everything. A lot of people come in with a real tough guy attitude, and it's good to be tough, but you need to be a student. You need to be smart. You need to be very receptive and just like Bruce Lee says, you need to be like water. You need to know when to flow and when to crash. And a lot of times in jiu-jitsu, most of the time, you're just going to be flowing. You're going to be taking it really easy with the rolls. You're going to be going real light with partners, just really slow and methodical with technique. Just like when we're drilling, I'll notice, young hungry white belts, they'll be very stiff, when doing a drill, stiff and using a lot of muscle and going real fast. When you're practicing a technique, you want to go slow. You want to be smooth. You want to understand. Don't just rush to do the motions. Seek to understand, because I promise you, if you can continue to learn, continue to put your ego aside and always have an open mind, it gets so much better after blue belt. I'm telling you, I'm only just purple belt. I'm a baby purple belt, all right? It took me about 6 years. I fought amateur MMA. I love martial arts. I've always been into it, but at purple belt now, like, I think jiu-jitsu to purple belt is kind of like when you experience like jiu-jitsu puberty. This is where the game really starts to make sense. You really start to systemize and be able to mix and flow in and chain together attacks, submissions, sweeps, stand up, doing wrestling moves. And then your grappling expertise and IQ just expands. You're able to mix in leg locks. You're able to mix in judo, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. There's just so much to the game that you start to understand, and the game becomes really fun. A lot of times you really feel like you plateau at blue belt. Like it's really hard to sometimes see that you are progressing because you kind of plateau, because at white belt everything's brand new. You have so much to learn. There's all of the submissions, all the positions, a few good sweeps, things like that. But blue belt, you're starting to refine a little bit more. You're starting to understand a little bit more about like what works for you, and it can feel like you're really plateauing because you're not learning a lot of new stuff. You have the same stuff, but now you're just refining it. But I think just beyond the point of blue belt, it starts to expand even more. And I'm not even brown belt or black belt yet, and I'm still really looking forward and excited to learn what it's going to be like in the game at that point. I'm sure it's going to be insane, but things really start to come together, and you learn yourself as a martial artist athlete. At blue belt, you learn what kind of person you are, what kind of game you have. Do you have a really aggressive style? Like I go to a Carlson Gracie basically heritage gym. It's called Wanderlei Jiu-Jitsu in Milwaukee, and it's very, very if you know anything about Carlson Gracie, it's very hardcore, smash and pass, heavy pressure from top and bottom. I actually got to go to a seminar from Master Carlson and just learn so much. And you really refine refine your style. You start to understand the guards that you like. Maybe you like half guard. Maybe you like butterfly guard. Maybe you like guards that you didn't think you would like. I hated butterfly guard all throughout white belt and throughout most of blue belt too. Like, it would always just get smashed. My butterfly guard always got smashed, but now it's one of my favorite guards right now. It's insane. So don't give up on blue. This is right when you're just like starting to become enlightened and understand so much about yourself in jiu-jitsu, how to understand how to prolong this journey in jiu-jitsu. I think part of the journey in jiu-jitsu is being able to learn how to manage your responsibilities outside of the mats, how to be able to balance it with family, with work, with your career, with your body. There's so much that jiu-jitsu teaches you about your body, about how to stay in shape, how to stay conditioned, what you need to be mindful of. So it's a great tool to understand, your body. Like, oh, my shoulder's feeling a little bit off. At open mat, I'm going to start doing some rehab exercise and shoulder strengthening exercises with my strength and conditioning and my mobility work to complement my jiu-jitsu game, to complement myself as a martial artist and as an athlete. And you can repair that and be very mindful of that because of jiu-jitsu, because you're able to use your body and just feel your body so well. So you can utilize it to your advantage to stay healthy. And if you're not being proactive, if you're only waiting and being reactive, then it's definitely, we're going to run into some problems. But if you arm yourself with knowledge and arm yourself with preparation, you can stick to the journey long term. Okay. If you need help with this, just follow me on Instagram at BrandonRoberts.fitness. Ask me any kind of question that you got. I get to all of my DMs. I read them. And if you need a guide, you can actually comment strong down below in the comments, or there will be a link down in the description for my blueprint. It is a systematically getting stronger for jiu-jitsu guide that explains different workouts for jiu-jitsu, an example workout structure. And again, if you need anything, just hit up your boy, hit up your coach, and I will give you the insight that I've learned as someone who's made it to purple belt and fought in the cage. I've also lost 100 pounds in case anyone's on a weight loss journey. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much about it for this episode. Very unscripted in this episode, very just raw and uncut. When you are in jiu-jitsu, you learn there's no hiding on the mats. The mats are always honest and always truthful, and you learn a lot. And the longer you stick to it, the better you get. It's not about who's the best. It's about who's left. All right. So I appreciate you sticking with me, watching this entire video. I appreciate you. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe down below, and I'll catch you in the next one.